let me show you. Okay, so the reason why warriors are losing threat, and I think in your case, what's happening, because I think I saw your character, Bustronic, and you're using a sword and board, and I don't think you were protection. So let me explain. So if you are an arms warrior and you're using a sword and board, you're going to have a lot of difficulty holding threat. Typically what you want to do is you're going to look like this, right? You're going to have improved thunderclap. And you're going to have, charge is great. Usually I go this for mitigation while holding threat. I'll go overpower, deep wounds. I'll go this and this. So this is kind of what it looks like, okay? While leveling, this is what it looks like. I'll go back through for mitigation here. I like to get tactical mastery. When did I get mortal strike? Right there. I'll get up to mortal strike because the instant attacks are really nice, especially with sweeping strikes, okay? Icy Grill says sword and board is best for raids, mediocre in dungeons. Yeah, pretty much that. That's pretty much it. This is what I do while leveling right here, bro, because I'm trying to get a ton of rage on my warriors, okay? This is what I do. People sleep on Piercing Howl. I like to get it. It'll help you in a lot of fights that people don't talk about, like in Scholomance, when you have all the unstable ghouls. You can keep control of those mobs, or if something's getting away from you, you can keep control of those mobs. Really, really useful, okay? Oh, that's important too, I forgot. Yeah, that might be more important actually, but anyway, it's something along the lines of this, and basically what I'm doing here is improved thunderclap is really, really good in the dungeons at lower levels before you get some of your better gear at holding AoE threat. You're going to demo shout right off the rip, and basically, brother, you got to do a bunch of damage if you're not a protection warrior just to hold threat. Charge, mortal strike, whirlwind, and mortal strike. Yeah. And you got to be careful with charging in too, because sometimes you can charge and you can pull extra packs and you can make your dungeon runs even harder. So I would recommend even potentially shooting the target, pulling them back around the corner, making your group wait, let them know you're going to pull back. Don't attack, I'm pulling back. Pull back, open with your demo shouts, open with your thunderclap. Yep, sweeping strikes is really good. You can get a couple of sunders in there too. That might help you hold a little bit of that threat as opposed to mortal strike. And the reason why is because it's an instant cast. The instant casts are really valuable for you as a warrior because you're using your white strikes. Your white strikes will generate rage so that you can basically generate a lot more threat that way rather than wasting it. Because if you use freaking heroic strike, brother, you're gonna lose a lot. That's why, sweeping strikes is really good with mortal strike. One more thing. We talked about macros earlier. I'm gonna go back over, okay? We talked about macros earlier. If you're tanking, see this macro right here? This automatically marks your target with a skull marker so that they know who you're targeting and they will focus your target. This kind of communication, not everybody will listen to it, but if you give people direction, generally they will go for it because it'll make everybody perform better. This is one of the best things you can do for yourself as a tank, okay? This right here, communicating the skull target marker is super, super important. So I would put this in a macro with a lot of your warrior abilities. Like if you're gonna mortal strike, have it on there. If you're gonna sunder or whatever, have it on there. You know what I'm saying? It's super, super good. It will help you way more than I can even say live in this commentary. It is incredibly effective. But just to go back over, I want to cover something really quick because people may go into protection later, and the way that protection works is a little different. Okay? So first of all, let me move my grouping over here. Oops. Let me move my group over here so that we can look at something else, okay? So, Protection Warrior is a little bit different. You still are going to want to build mitigation. Hold on, Buzztronic says, sometimes when I have too much threat on skull, I target another mob and I get threat while the others are finishing skull. Yes, yeah, that's a good strategy too. Yeah, start sundering another target, or, mortal strike another target, or, whatever you can do to build that additional threat. Yeah, it's super valuable to do that. So what I like to do, again, is I like to go like this. Okay, again, toughness doesn't really give you that much. It'll help you mitigate a little bit of damage, but 10% armor value is not that high. Stun and charm effects, not that great. I usually like to get 20 in defense because you're going to mitigate damage a lot higher with better parry, dodge chance, etc. And improved blood rage for rage gen because last stand is very valuable. Now, what's really important is down here, there's a lot of debate in the community as to what you can do here, but I generally like to get last stand. It will really help you to have that stamina to soak big damage. It's kind of crucial. And then I'll usually go right here. Defiance, if you're a protection tank, super valuable, okay? Super, super valuable. One-hand specialization is very good, and improved shield slam is very good. The extra defense, it doesn't scale like armor. Actually, it kind of does, because when you have this much defense, you get the thing that people don't talk about. You get increased parry, increased dodge, increased block from defense. When you have 20 defense, you get like a couple percentage points increase mitigation, because you'll go from like 30% chance to hit or whatever to like 38. And what I mean by that is, I'll go ahead and show you on my character here, okay? The defense is right here, okay? Defense adds a lot. Matter of fact, just to kind of show you guys, let me show you what defense does, okay? Not only does it reduce the effect of crushing blows against you when you're tanking, which is more of an endgame thing, but let me just reset and I'll just go into it. Look at my freaking stats, okay? Look at how much I lost. Let me go in and show you real quick what defense can do. Okay. I gotta get there. So watch my stats. I'm at 29%. Actually, before I even do that, because it'll become dramatically more. You'll see what I'm saying a lot easier if I have all of my stuff at the same time. Let me get my parry chance, okay? So I'm at 34. With anticipation, defense 20, I gained 4% mitigation. You see that? My total mitigation? That is freaking crazy if you think about it. That is insane. So that right there is kind of what you're looking at. Okay, that's why you want that. Because it used to be kind of crap. Now it's really, really good. Okay, that mitigation is more than I can ever tell you. That's huge. When you block an attack as a warrior as well, you generate rage. When you parry an attack, it ups your swing timer. So you swing a little bit faster. So then you hit faster. So you're technically generating more rage, right? Or you're dodging and taking no damage altogether. Anticipation, very good. So the next thing, Buzztronic said, at which level would you use this build? It's really up to you. I mean, as soon as you get to Defiance, you could use this while leveling if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend it because personally I have more fun leveling when I can do big damage. So this is more of something that I like to do when I'm like level 60 on a warrior, and if I want to be a protection boy, this is where I go. Shield Slam, improve Shield Slam, okay? And the reason why is because Shield Slam will generate a huge amount of threat for you if you're a protection boy. Okay? This stacks really, really well with your Defiance. Shield Slam is a really low cooldown ability on your warrior, and it removes buffs from your target. Okay? Super valuable. Super, super valuable. and it increases your chance to block, which gives you more rage and increases your mitigation. So improve shield slam. Then I will go one hand spec to do more damage. Defensive tactics, some people really like this. There are some really good builds for defensive tactics, but I think they come later. I'll cover that in a little bit. There's like a lot of different varieties in warrior builds right now that you could do with that. I like to finish this up. The one-handed weapon damage you're dealing, this is super good for you if you're tanking sword and board. I don't really need this that much. I generate so much rage anyways that I really don't need it. What I like to do is I like to come back up and make my taunt cooldown lower. I like to do that. And then you can reduce cooldowns. It doesn't really matter. This is really up to you. You can reduce your cooldown on your disarm. It has more value than people talk about. It reduces a lot of damage on melee targets against you if they're using a weapon. But I like concussive blow too, because as a protection boy, if you read the tooltip, concussion blow generates a high amount of threat. Okay. Concussion blow is huge for you because you can hit one guy, change targets, shield slam another guy, and keep building threat that way. On top of that, it also stuns opponents, so you're taking less damage. So as a protection boy, I highly recommend concussion blow. Super valuable. Now, I like to do, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I like to come over here and get tactical mastery, because be a Kuaz, I actually still at max level play with this. You can change this up. Thunderclap is not that viable with some of the warrior scaling at a higher level, okay? There are better builds. I still play with this. I still like it on my warrior. And I get deflection. Now, typically what people do is not this. What they do is this, and I'll show you. What they do is they go like this, they go like this, they go like this. Deep wounds. And then after deep wounds, they're basically getting to impale. Personally, overpower, you can like change stances and hit overpowers, but honestly, you're not gonna lose. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me move my stuff. I'm so sorry. Thank you. So this is typically the build that people do. They go full protection, and then they'll come over here because they're trying to get to impale. Okay. Now, a lot of people go improved overpower. I'm going to make another recommendation. I would say T-Clap, a lot of people don't think it's valuable. I think it's really freaking valuable. Okay. I really like improved T-Clap. It helps me a ton. I wish they would remove the amount of targets you can hit with it. And then I'll finish off with tactical mastery. A lot of people like to go improved overpower and stance, but every time you switch stances out of defensive as a protection warrior, not only are you taking more damage, but you're losing a ton of rage. Honestly, there's a lot of times on my warrior where I am so freaking high on rage and generating so much rage that when I change stances, I'm actually hurting myself in the long run, because I can dump a bunch of rage into shield slam, into sunders, into cleaves, into whatever. You know what I mean? Rank 5 Thunder does 82 damage. Let me look at something really quick. Because be a Kuaz. Gameplay. Let me come back here. Okay, so let me go to the Encourage books. Okay, this is something that I don't know if a lot of people are thinking about. Class books. Where is my warrior? Nothing. Revenge, battle shout. So even though it's not doing a ton of damage, it's important to remember it is doing, I can't find what I'm looking for, but it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't scale well. Like I said, it doesn't scale that well, but important to remember, even though you're not doing a ton of damage with your Thunderclap, remember you're generating you're generating an immense amount of threat because you have defiance. Okay. And it's not about, you're not, Thunderclap isn't the only way you're holding threat. It's just helping you build more AoE threat. And like I said, it doesn't scale really well against a lot of people who have tier 3 gear. But you don't have a lot of options for AoE threat building on a warrior. It will really help your toolkit out a lot if you use it. And like Icy Grills is saying, I used Improved Thunderclap until I got Thunder Fury. Yeah. Aim for Thunder Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker, because it has AoE abilities in it that make it super easy for you to tank as a warrior at 60. Especially when you're fighting with other tier 3 geared players, it makes it so much better. So in summary, for my warriors out there who are wondering what I'm talking about, if you are having trouble as a warrior holding threat in your dungeons and you are not a protection spec warrior, unfortunately what that means is you're either going to need to be Fury dual wielding, or you need to be arms using a two-handed weapon to generate the threat that you need to hold your primary aggro. Okay? If you are a protection boy, it can be a lot easier in dungeons to hold aggro with Defiance, using this build that we've kind of laid out here, and Revenge to generate a lot of threat, and Shield Slab to generate a lot of threat with some target rotations. Okay, so if you're trying to get serious about tanking on a warrior and you're having trouble with the other specs, try Protection. It can help you. But mainly, I think your issue is that you need more damage, more weapons, okay? Konstantin Nikari says, hey, I have one question while we're at Warrior Talents. Maybe you can help. Okay, what you got? What you got? What can I do for you? Hit us, Konstantin. What you got? What you got? Having this talent, oof. Hold on, let me read that. Having this talent and being immobilized, slowed, rooted, etc. will be granted a movement freedom if you use Intervene. Or does this immunity apply only in the effects that come after? I think this will give you, I've really only seen this used in PvP, but this, if you use Intervene, I think will cleanse you. Is that what you're asking? I think that's what it is. Mostly it's used in PvP. It can be pretty good in some PvE situations, but most of the time, people are using Intervene not to free themselves from the movement speed debuff. They're kind of relying on their healers to do that. Mainly, I think what they're looking for is to get to a location. But I think it cleanses and provides immunity for 3 seconds. Okay, so actually, yeah, 100%. If you look at the tooltip, gain immunity to movement impairing effects for 3 seconds. Yeah, so it's pretty good. But remember, you got to use it on an ally. So a lot of the ways that people are exploiting in PvP, again, if you're an engine, I better be careful what I say or they're going to patch it. Ooh, if you're an engineer or if you have a summon of any type, okay, I'm thinking, what's the bell that you get from Western Plaguelands quest, the PvP quest where you got to kill the Baron or one of those dudes and you get the guys with you? Okay, so be careful how many people you share this with or it might get patched, but basically what people are doing is they're using engineering or they're using a trinket that summons Barov's Peasant Caller. Yeah, thank you, Icy Grills. They're using those with Intervene to get this movement immunity almost like the Paladin's Hand of Freedom. Okay, so it makes you a mage killer in some regard. If you're like too far from an ally, you could just boop, and then you're good to go. Keep in mind, it does put your charges on CD. They share a cooldown. So you better hope for sure, and this is why engineering might be better for this, because you can pop up a dummy in a location and maybe LOS, pillars or whatever, but yeah. Constantine says, one of my guilds said, I haven't tested it out. Going by tooltip, it says after, so I'd be willing to bet it will not break a root, for example, and still grant immunity. Never seemed good enough to take, in my opinion. I think it does cleanse you. More playtesting is needed. I have been playing a lot of Paladin and Shaman lately, so more playtesting is needed. But I'm pretty sure when it says immunity, I think it will cleanse you because one of the other things that grants immunity is Divine Shield. That's invulnerability. But it's very similar to how Divine Shield works, I would imagine. And similar to Hand of Freedom. So if you look, Hand of Freedom's tooltip, I'll actually move my group over so you can see. Hand of Freedom is the same kind of thing. It says grants immunity to movement impairing effects, and Hand of Freedom will cleanse a movement debuff. So if I'm being honest with you guys, I think it cleanses because it's the same exact verbiage and setup, so it should. But playtesting is required for me to confirm. I'll get on it though. I'll look at it and get back to you. Yep. Anyway, yeah, does anyone want to cover anything else as a team? Because we have a collective intelligence here in the room with us right now. We have tons of players who are playing the game actively. We could go over anything that you guys are thinking of. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about, anything you want to do, let me know. Let me know. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about. For those of you who are worried about, you're hearing this and you're worried about playing a tank, remember you can just kind of set your tank up so that you're dealing more damage to hold aggro, okay? So that's one thing you could do to tank at lower levels. And then when you get to the raids, it doesn't matter because every raiding group is going to have paladins in it. And paladins will give Blessing of Salvation to everybody in the raid, okay? So it takes issues that are kind of a bigger issue in the dungeons while you're leveling, and it becomes very viable in the raids and the endgame tanking. So if you're worried about how endgame's going to go, it actually gets easier. Okay, it actually gets easier. You just have to try to focus on dealing more damage if you're not a protection spec while leveling. Icy Grill's got any sweet warrior tank macros? We actually cover these a lot. Let me do something really quick. Hang on one second. I'm actually going to share a website with you guys because usually I share my POV, my perspective, and my macros that I built personally, but today I think I might go a different route and try to share with you guys. Oops, actually, hold on. Before I do that, let me share with you guys this website. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to link something in the room, in the channel, in the stream. So if you guys take a look, this is a link to a website that will really, really help you guys. I'm going to move back over. Okay, we're going to take a look at this website. So this will really help you guys. This is a vanilla macros website hub. And the reason why it's important is because macros are different based on what client you are using. On TurtleWoW, we have the vanilla client, so we need vanilla macros. Okay. And usually I come here because this can really help you get started on a lot of your macros. You can start here and you can add to them, you know. So for example, this is really, really good. This macro right here, you're going to want this one in all of your macros for your warrior attacks. Super good. But there's a ton of other things that people contribute here that are very useful. Okay. Battle shout if not active. Okay. Pretty cool. Battle shout or else you'll heroic strike. This is really good because then you can just set up your DPS rotations. And when you're pressing your normal stuff, it'll go about buffing you if you don't have the buff. Tons of other things that are submitted here. Really, really useful tool. Okay, so I just wanted to share this right off the rip. Okay, a lot of these are really, really helpful for people. Hamstring. macros, pretty cool. Lots of good PvP utility here in some of these macros. Yeah, so I highly recommend you guys come here, check out this link, check out these macros. They will help your life a lot. But I will also log on to my warrior real quick so you guys can get a feeling. You can get a look at kind of how my warrior is working. Okay. Give me 1 second to load my warrior. Okay. Okay. Oh boy. One sec. All right. Fun times. So, I'm on the warrior. Let me transfer over so you guys can see what I'm looking at. Okay. On the warrior. Here I be, here I do. I'm on the warrior boy. Okay. Here is how everything is set up for my warrior, guys. Basically, you got, this is cooldown heavy action bar here, so all of my cooldowns. Okay. Starting from the least cooldown to the greatest, I have those on their own separate thing. And you'll notice my retaliation, my shield wall, and recklessness are all in the same key binding. And that changes what ability I use based on what stance I'm in. Okay? So for example, if I am in Berserker stance and I click to my cooldown, recklessness, there it is, okay? So I do that. I have a lot of stance-based focuses here on my warrior. And let's kind of cover the setup for warrior. So this is my protection boy. I kind of told you guys about the protection spec. We've covered that. This is how the action bar looks for me, okay? So I've got cleave in the front, and the reason why is because it's actually dual purpose. Okay, it actually is linked to a ranged attack. So main action abilities are here, my situational abilities are here, with consumables and heals over here, okay? And then you'll notice all of my stance specific abilities are in the back, okay? In the back. These will change based on stance so that I can use priority key bindings on these. Helps me a lot. My hamstring is on the same as my revenge, and my hamstring and overpower are in the same space. Okay. With that being said, I'm going to cover a couple of macros for the warrior. So, first, we have this one right here. So you can use this with heroic strike. You can use it with cleave. This is your number one macro. This is my number one. Now, depending on if I'm tanking or not is when this will change. I typically will not use heroic strike if I'm tanking. I'll use cleave or shield slam, etc., and other rotationals or sunder armor as an example. Heroic strike's kind of a rage dump, but I have other rage dumps that I use. So you can use heroic strike while you're tanking. I just personally like having the white damage and rage gen. Okay, now cleave will take your white damage, but we'll cover the usage in a second. This macro, however, no matter what you put here, you can either put cleave, you can put heroic strike, mortal strike, whatever it is that you want to be your opening ability, you can put here, okay? But what this macro will do for you is if a target's far away, you'll throw or you'll shoot the target, depending on if you have a bow or a gun or whatever, to pull them closer to you so you don't need more key binding space to use that. And if they're close to you, it will use another ability. And on top of that, it will give a raid marker to let your team know who you're pulling and who you're attacking, okay? So that's that. Mortal strike, heroic strike. I have these separate on this right here so that when I am in arms or whatever, this is my like rage ability dump, and it will queue up both of the attacks at the same time. So one will instantly attack, the other will queue up and attack when my next attack is ready. Again, all your melee abilities should have this in it. It will make sure that you attack the closest target to you if you don't have one selected. And then Shield Slam, this is basically, I'm not adding anything else into the rotation, but this is a cast sequence macro. You can add other things in here. Kind of mixed. The most important macros that I have that are across all of my characters, especially on Warrior here, I'll cover some of these other macros in a minute, but Health Stone and Consumables are all in one macro, so you don't have to search for them when you need that HP. This is a really good macro that I use on everybody, but especially on Warrior. Okay, so that goes right over here, as you can see. And then let's cover that 30-minute macro. Looks like this. So this will, based on what stance I am in, it will use my 30-minute cooldown ability, okay? Super useful. Super, super good. Got a Sharpening Stone macro for those of you guys who don't like digging through your bags. This can be very important, crucial for you. Oh yeah, and one of my other really important Warrior macros is putting Pummel and Shield Bash in the same key binding. So it will use whatever, based on whatever stance you're in, it will either interrupt with a shield or it will interrupt with a pummel, okay? If you're in defensive stance, you're going to be using a shield, or you should probably be using a shield. If you're a protection warrior, if not, you can add something so that you change your gear when you switch into defensive stance, but we'll cover that case use later. If you are looking for another important warrior macro, this right here, a weapon switching macro. Okay, basically this will go to a specific spot in your bags. This is looking in bag number 4, slot number 10. Okay, so spots number 9 and 10 in bag 4 is what this macro is looking for, and that is my two-hand weapon. Oops, hold on. This macro set up for somebody else. Bag 4, slot number 10. Let me show you how that works. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it should be working. Maybe I need to go over here or something. Hold on. Re-download my macro. Oh, it's doing it. It's doing it. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I just needed to put it back on my action bar. So, weapon switch macro, super useful. Some people use add-ons to do this. I personally think just using a macro is fine, because you can just click this when you switch your stances to do your shield bash interrupt, or click it to do your pummel interrupt. Having control of your weapon switches are always nice to do manually. Constantine said, how do these specific bag slot macros work? I feel like my interface randomizes where it drops my gear. No, so this one will replace, so if you're using a macro instead of an add-on, what it will do, especially this macro, and I can share this with you, okay? I can share it with you right now. You could just copy and paste. Matter of fact, I will share it with you. Here you go. Oops. Here you go. You can copy that out of the text there. It should help you if you want to copy that. What it will do for you is it will put your weapons in the exact same spot in those bag spaces that we have identified in the macro. That is where your weapons are going, okay? So spaces 9 and 10 in bag number 4 is where that's going, okay? That's why this macro is so cool for warriors. That way it organizes your gear. The only thing you gotta keep track of is making sure you keep that space open when your inventory is getting full. Sometimes what happens is people will fill their inventory full of crap, and then you'll go to switch weapons and nothing is happening. And that's because that bag space is full. It has nowhere for your shield and sword and shield to go. And so it can't equip your stuff. So you got to keep your bag space open for that weapon switch. Super important. Yeah, it works. Just, again, be sure that you are aware of those bag spaces, okay? But personally, a lot of people like add-ons. I like macros better for changing weapons. I like counting on myself to do it, to change my weapons and my stances more than I like counting on a add-on to do it. But yeah, there are other ways to do it, Buzstronic. You can, you know, some people use item rack macros, some people use different varieties of solutions, but there's more than one way to do it. This is just how I do it. You can take that tool if you wish. Hopefully it helps. Yeah, I mean, it's the vanilla code, man. That's just how the vanilla code is. You know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, that's just about it, I think, for Mythcast today, unless you guys have any other questions or things you'd like to see. I was going to do a gameplay segment, but I might do that gameplay segment a little bit later. We might be doing a raid today. And if so, I'll do a live broadcast so you guys can kind of join in and see how my tanking is going. And those are always good. The live is always better, so you can get a direct feel for it, okay?